It's time for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. And today's guest is former Red Wing and current member of Fox Sports Detroit's Red Wings broadcast team, Larry Murphy. Larry, it's so great to see you. How have you been doing during this quarantine?
Well, I'm doing okay, and excited that we are going to see some hockey return. Of course, not our beloved Red Wings, but still, I mean, there's promise that things are going to get somewhat normal again. But yeah, it's been a long haul, and just like everybody else, you do what you can to keep busy.
Larry, you mentioned that we will have some hockey hopefully here. Every day it seems like we're progressing towards that start date, which is now August 1st for the season. Teams will report for training camp on July 14th. When you look at this 2014 playoff scenario that we're going to be in, are there any matchups that are intriguing to you or anything you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, I think because of just the nature of the layoff, the length of the layoff, who knows what teams are going to be, how good they're going to be, how strong they're going to be, how well they're going to play when they come back. So for a betting person, boy, I would take a long shot because I think it's leveled the playing field, and I think that we can expect to see anybody come out on top with the Stanley Cup. So I love the format. I love the fact that it's going to be very exciting because hey, I don't think you can predict that any particular team is going to be the one that's going to stand out.
Let's focus a little bit on the Red Wings here. We know now that they are picking fourth in the upcoming NHL draft. What was your initial reaction to the entire lottery process and now seeing that the Red Wings do sit at that fourth pick?
Well, Daniella, I have to admit that I was like everybody else. I could not believe it. I was so disappointed. I mean, everybody's hoping to come out with the number one. It turns out to be the worst case scenario for the Wings, but still, for the most part, you get a number four player. I mean, you're gonna get a high impact guy, so it's not the end of the world, but it just seems like it just fits perfectly into this season, the way things have gone for this team. I mean, it's been a tougher haul for them this season than anybody expected. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but I thought they would be in the hunt for a playoff spot much longer than they were. So yeah, that happens. That's a shock, a disappointment, so to speak. Yes, we saw young players develop, and the future is promising. But then we get into the draft, and it's like, boy, you can't even catch a break in that area. But it's not doom or gloom. They're going to get a guy. They're going to get an impact player. So it's just that you have your heart set on that number one pick, which obviously didn't come to fruition.
Larry, I know if you look at the number four pick, I mean, everybody thinks the three really high end forwards are going to go one, two, three. You know, your forward team, the original team that drafted you, the Kings, if they somehow decide they're going to go defense, and maybe Byfield or Stutzla fall to them. But let's say the three forwards go, then at four, it's wide open. Your defenseman, Jamie Drysdale, by all accounts, is supposed to be a great number one defenseman, not a first pair, a number one. Do you go defense if you're the Red Wings, even though he's a right-handed shot? They've got some young D, but if he's the best player available, do you go with the defenseman?
Well, hey, Art, I'm obviously a little biased here, but I think the defense is the most important position out there. So hey, you can't go wrong with picking a defenseman. I think with Steve, I mean, it's as you pointed out, the top three are pretty well set. One set, two and three is debatable, but you're going to anticipate that those three guys are going to be gone. So yeah, now it opens up, and I think I mean, after what happened last year with Sider, he wasn't a name that wasn't being bantered around when the Wings came to pick. I mean, it turned out to be a great pick by Steve Eisman because he's a guy that's going to do what he thinks best. He's not going to follow the pundits who spew all this expertise, which in reality is just rehashed from somebody else that said it. Eisman does his homework. So I'm not even going to try to guess, Art, what he's going to do in this situation. I guarantee he's well prepared, and I guarantee he probably knows in his mind who he's going to pick right now. And I believe when you're picking four, you've got to pick the best player. And if all things are equal, then yeah, you can't go wrong with building a real solid defense. So hey, I mean, if you know Daniella, Art, if you know more than me, I mean, which could possibly and probably is the case, who are they going to pick? I don't know.
Larry, I know you don't want to really get into it, but we know the Red Wings got hosed big time in this draft lottery. I mean, we all know it. No one wants to accept it, but that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
But with but with all that said, and I'll say Askarov, if Steve really wants to upset the apple cart, take the Russian goalie at 4, and people will just the league will blow itself up if he does that. But with that said, I want to go back to when you became a Detroit Red Wing. Now, I know that the decision, you had like a minute or so to go before the trade deadline was over. They finally got hold of you. But Scotty Bowman, and I brought this up with Scotty a few weeks ago, was overjoyed that they acquired you from Toronto. I mean, if Scotty could do somersaults, he would have done somersaults. When you walked into that room for the first time, was Scotty, I mean, did he embrace you? Was he so happy, or did he ignore you in typical Scotty fashion? How did that come off?
Well, I had Scotty when I was in Pittsburgh, so very familiar with his approach. And geez, I don't know if I spoke to him the first couple of days, to be perfectly honest, but I never really spoke to Scotty a lot when I played for him. I spoke more to Scotty probably the 2 months after I retired than I did for. I played with him. He coached me for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years of my career. That's just the relationship we had, and that was fine with me. I love the man. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, he wasn't there. Like, he didn't come to the airport to pick me up. I mean, let's not get carried away here. And when I got to the rink, I think I didn't see Scotty till I got on the ice, I think, for the first practice, but it was fine with me. And he had made me feel welcome, and obviously put me in a real good situation here in Detroit. And that's what I expected. It played out exactly as I expected with Scotty.
In your time in Detroit, you were paired with Nick Lidstrom on the blue line. You guys were a great pairing. There's no doubt about that. All the history and everything you went through with the Philadelphia series, it was great. But what was it really like playing with a guy like Nick Lidstrom, and how did your guys' relationship build over the time that you spent with him?
Well, it was interesting. The path to Nick, I didn't start right away paired with Nick. He was using, I think Vladdy was playing with him, and I was moving around. At times, Danielle, I even played with Sergei Fedorov. We had some injuries, and Scotty put Sergei back on the point, and I played with him for a couple of games, which I got to say, it was awesome. I mean, his approach to defense was like no other. He was very effective as a defenseman. Didn't skate backwards much, but boy, he did his job out there, and I really enjoyed that experience. But it progressed along. Scotty moved around different guys, and then I don't know, it was maybe the 6th, 7th, 8th game I was here with the Wings, and he started playing me with Nick, and I think, yeah, he liked the chemistry, because Nick's the type of guy that I enjoyed playing with. He's a guy that is a puck possession guy, positional guy, somebody that you know exactly where he's going to be at all times. And if you're an out and you're available, he's going to get you the puck. And so playing with Lidstrom is one of the all-time greats of this game. Was definitely, for me, was a luxury. Enjoyed every minute of it, and very easy to play with. And of course, off the ice, a real personable guy. He wasn't a big rah approach. But that was the way Yzerman was the same way. Steve Yzerman, when he was the captain, wasn't a guy that that banged the drum. I mean, when he spoke, everybody listened, and that was the same thing with Nick Lidstrom. His approach was somewhat lead by example, and also when he said something, choose his words carefully. Boy, everybody in the dressing room was all ears. So those guys were a very similar approach of being captain, and very effective.
Hopefully we get in the future here with some of these defensive prospects. Hey, and maybe even a new one at this point. We'll have another Murph and Nick out there and repeat in the 97.
Well, hey, you got to, you know what? I mean, goaltending is your
Right.
most important position, but a strong defense, boy, I kind of think it kind of moves out. So yeah, the Wings have got a lot of, there's a lot of potential there. A lot of guys, it's funny how quickly things, if they do pick a defenseman in that 4th pick, then all of a sudden, you look at the makeup of the defense of this team, and all of a sudden, you're pretty excited. Where we go into this previous season, it's like, well, how many defensemen did they use? Like 14, 15 guys. What was the number that the Wings eventually used on defense, just to go show you how topsy-turvy that position was? And it can turn around a couple of high draft picks, and boom, all of a sudden things look pretty promising back on the point. So I'm excited. I mean, looking forward. I mean, I wish we got to see them play again this year, but next season, I mean, these guys, the young core have developed, and now we're starting to see these young guys come in. They're going to add to the team. So yeah, it's positioned well for moving forward, and it's about time after the last tough couple of seasons we've endured.
Yes,
well, you know, Larry.
Oh, go ahead, Art.
Larry, I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to step on you there. I just want to say,
Hey, that's not like you, Art. That's not like you. You're never one to hijack an interview. That's not the way you work.
No. Yeah. You taught me well, Larry. You taught. With that said, much like yourself, Steve's a big fan of the Word on Woodward. He watches every show, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want. So what you're telling Steve, in a roundabout way, if I may be so bold, is to draft Jamie Drysdale at number 4. Go with the defenseman.
No, you know what, Art? I mean, yeah, I'd say you can't go wrong with a defenseman. But you know what? I mean, we have fun. You know, like bantering around names, and I'm always hesitant because I don't get to see these guys play. These young guys play. Steve Yzerman himself watches them play, and his scouting staff watches them play. So they're much more well prepared, Art. So I am not even going to go anywhere near that area and try to tell him, you know, what he's going to pick. But hey, I am going to say though, defense is the most important spot on the team, and the right shot defenseman. If you want to get particulars, even more important.
I love it. You definitely can't go wrong drafting a D-man. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been great catching up with you. Great hearing from you, as always. Another big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockeytown. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light.